Hi there, I am Kimile, and welcome back to Heal with Kimile. I want to talk today about failure and what we can learn from our mistakes and our failures. It seems to be a stigma. We don't want to admit that we failed or talk about our failings. We're embarrassed with our spouses or our significant others. So when we make a mistake, when we aren't our best self or we choose something that we know is going to upset them because it's upsetting us and we're not proud of it, what do? Well, we hide it. We lie. We omit truth. We don't admit things to the people we are terrified to lose. And so we start living a lie. And that's where I say a lot of relationships go south. Because when you can't be authentic, when you can't be your real self with your partner, and you feel like a whore in church type syndrome, you aren't yourself. You're not able to be fully self-expressed. So in the world of integrity or authenticity, or in the world of love, really, what can screw up love worse than anything is secrets. And when we have vices, when we do things that we're not proud of, if we cheat on our spouse, if we drink, or, again, anything we do behind their back that they wouldn't approve of. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. They just wouldn't approve of it. They wouldn't approve of it. You tend to pull back from your relationship and you're not intimate, meaning you're not into me, you see. And these little moments that can turn into big moments, like little things become big things, if they become a habit or a pattern, build bricks in the wall of what's between you and why you don't feel close to each other. So when a couple first comes to sit down and talk to me, a lot of people have been together for a while and they take my Soulmate Second Chance program, which helps them decide, are we staying or are we going? We love each other, but we got so many problems and we don't know if we should do it all over again. Our kids are leaving, whatever the circumstance is, there's something that they want to figure out if they're going to stay together or if they should break up. And sometimes, it's time to, we're going to call it. It's kind of time to be over. I think the first thing that people feel when they want it to be over is that they are just tired. They're fatigued. They're probably fatigued from the war, the routine fighting, the stuff that just never got resolved and it's never going to be resolved. So they become resigned and cynical and they don't have a lot of hope. One kiss of death to the relationship is if you have contempt or lack of respect for your partner. And maybe that's, earned lack of respect if they've cheated on you or lied to you or betrayed you in some way and they haven't cleaned it up, or they have an addiction and you're just embarrassed by that, or you're not. You're just feeling replaced by it. And if they just continue to let you down time after time, we grow weary of those kind of relationships and we don't believe them anymore. Like if you hear everything that they say coming out of their mouth is a lie, even if it's not, you think it is because they've lied about so many other things, you're not likely to want to stay with that person if there's a continuation of never changing or breaking promises. I'll quit drinking. I'll quit smoking. I'll quit whatever. And if they don't, you just look at them like you can't trust them and they can't be trusted. And then they're an embarrassment or they're a failure in your eyes. So relationships get a little tricky. There's a dynamic between people that if there isn't some sort of friendship at the core of that relationship, and if it's all about expectations, again, that's also can be a problem. And so the couples that I am successful at keeping together, look, every relationship goes through stuff. That's obvious. Everyone goes through something inside of a relationship. But I don't know that divorcing or leaving is always the first option. It shouldn't be the first option. Somehow figuring out if you can get help and sort some stuff out, I say, is the first option, especially if you have children. But when people come to talk to me about their relationship, a lot of the comments are, well, where do we start? We don't know. We know where we're stuck. We feel stuck. Yeah, we're both working. We're both paying the bills. We're surviving. We have a good schedule with our children, or we don't have kids, but there's a routine. We have an okay routine, but the life is gone. The spark is gone. The light in their eyes, when they look at each other, isn't there. So there's obviously some sort of a disconnect happening. And they do have an affinity. I mean, they know each other very well. And I'm not saying every relationship toward, 10 years in or something is going to have this passionate big spark. But you can. I mean, you really can if that's important to you. But what creates that passionate spark and that, that connection with people It's something raw, something honest, something vulnerable. It's where people are allowed and they are safe to be themselves with each other, warts and all. So, but when people come and sit in front of me, they're stuck. They're usually stuck. Where do we start? How do we improve? How do I redeem myself? Because I've let him down, I've let her down, and they want to make it right. They want to make something right in the relationship, and they just haven't been able to. Well, here's a couple of things to look at if you're in that kind of a situation. One is if you've let your partner down, if you betrayed their trust, and there's something you have to dig yourself out of, like maybe you promised for so long you wouldn't drink or you wouldn't go gambling anymore, whatever it is. Then you kept doing that thing because you weren't ready to let it go. Maybe you're addicted to it or something, but you made a promise you would. You promised them you quit. You promised them you'd do this. You promised them you'd do that. And then you haven't. Well, that will ultimately lead to a disrespect. You're going to be disrespected if you make a promise and don't keep your word. And that's in every walk of life. Anybody that wants to be viewed as has integrity or valuable, they keep their word. What is a sign of a leader? They can keep their promises. They keep their word. And it's not always possible to always keep your word. I know that no one's perfect, but that you honor your word, meaning if you're breaking your word or the minute you're going to break your word, you let that person know, hey, I'm not going to be home at 8:00. Hey, I said I was going to pay this, or I was going to do that, and I didn't. So I want to let you know I've let you down, and I realize that there's an impact, and I want to make it right. So it's how you manage your promises. It's how you manage your word. And if you have integrity, you will do your best to be as close to your word as possible. And when you're not your word, you own it. You don't, make excuses. You don't justify. You own it. Now, if that's the situation you're in and you've got some cleanup to do, maybe the first thing we do is start telling the truth to each other. And a lot of times when there's been betrayal or something like this situation that's happened inside of a relationship, the other partners listen to them like, whatever, I don't believe a thing you say. I look at you and I just see a liar. I just see a cheater. I just see a drunk. I don't even see you anymore. I just see who I know you to be now. And so they have this, automatic way of being with you, and they're detached and they're not going to let you hurt them anymore. So they just don't believe in you. They quit believing in you. They don't think you can change. They don't see it. And then when you do change, maybe you haven't changed. You lied that you would, you tried. And look, habits are hard to break, people. So it isn't like you're maybe intentionally trying to, lie. But hypothetical, this is a situation that you find yourself in, is no matter what, that person's just not believing in you. They don't see you as they used to. That is a real concern, because if you're inside of that relationship and you have been the one that broke the vows or broke the promises, and you're the bad one, like you're seen as the bad one, the harmer, the one that hurt me, the one that hurt that relationship, it's your fault kind of thing, and you know it, then your partner sees you and they see your faults routinely. Now, I think that's very hard to stay with. It's extremely hard to stay with a person that doesn't see the best in you anymore. All they do is experience you as your worst. And maybe they even stretch it a little bit. Well, you're probably doing that too. I'm sure you did this. What would stop you? So they're going to assign a motive maybe to your behavior and see you in the worst possible light. So that's the spiral, the downhill spiral, the downward spiral in a relationship when you have made mistakes and your partner just piles on because they don't trust you anymore. When trust is broken, it is one of the most difficult things to redeem, which is why people lie. Why they lie to each other for years and they've never told them something, because they don't want to be seen as the out of integrity person that they are, or the cheater, liar, whatever. They don't want the label, and they also don't want the beat up. They don't want to feel like they get beat up for the rest of their life, or the consequences, and that might be a divorce, and it might cost finances. It might get messy with children. There's a lot at stake if you break your word to your partner inside of a marriage, inside of a serious relationship, because it won't just be you that gets hurt. Maybe it's other people, and that person's going to have the goods on you. They're going to, I know you did this. I know you did that. And even if you're the guilty one, you might expect them to punish you. You might expect them never to have sex with you again, or, to judge you harshly, not love you anymore. So you might take this stuff. You might take the verbal abuse. You might take the put downs because you're trying to make it right. So if you find yourself in a hole with your partner, there's a few things that I think They need to happen for this relationship to at least get honest. So the other person, the person that's been betrayed, the person that's been wounded, okay, they have a right to their feelings. They have a right to what they're going through. And they also have a right to start their healing process. And maybe that is to end the relationship and move on. Well, if that's what they choose to do, that's what they choose to do. But here's the sticking point with some of these people that I've seen in my clientele. Hypothetically, you're in a relationship and your partner cheats on you, or they lie to you, or they gambled your money away, whatever. So they failed you. They've somehow failed you. How are you handling that? How are you going to handle that? Who are you going to be in the face of that betrayal? And that's, in a way, a test. You're right. You can be angry. They're liars. They're exactly what or what you think they are. They're someone you can't trust, you can't be with. Now, if you stay inside of that breach, what's expected of you now? And maybe there's nothing expected. You think, well, I don't have to be nice anymore. I don't have to put out. I don't have to have dinner. I can do what the heck I want. I can spend money how I want. I can get even. I might get even. How are you going to deal with that when someone betrays you? It's probably, inevitable. I think we hurt the people that are closest to us, the ones we love the most. But who are you going to be inside of that breach? So I'm going to stereotype for a second. The women that I'm watching, there's 4 women I've got that are going through a difficult situation with their men. And, one woman is just out for blood. She just wants him dead. She's admitted it. It would be so much easier if you would just die. If you would just die and leave me. Me and the kids would be just fine. We'd get over you. I don't want you leaving and becoming your best version of yourself with a new woman. And you're not taking my money with you. I mean, there's so much, right? And so they're caught, and it's justified. I mean, they're caught with, if I leave, I lose it all with that person. Yeah, potentially. If I stay, I'm now faced with something. I'm now faced with, I got to get over it, or not. But if you don't get over it, if you're not willing to get inside the unconsciousness of your partner, if you're not willing to look at possibly how you helped this happen, I know that sounds like I'm victim shaming, but I'm not. It does take 2 in some way to tango. And so if your partner is unconsciously doing things like drinking or gambling or, screwing around or whatever, there's something that's very detached at some level in this relationship going on. But if you have someone in your life like this that's going through something like this, they're acting something out, they're doing something inappropriate. What is the message? What is the message to you? And then again, are you going to engage that? Are you going to punish that? Now you got to play God and take from them, make them pay. It's like they're going to be in prison, never screwing them again. Like, I'm just watching some people really get vindictive. They want revenge. They want blood. They want death. I mean, literally, they want death. And so this trigger, like this, whatever's happened inside of this relationship, this has brought them to their worst possible self. And I think that's a test. I mean, I'd say that person's being tested. And I'm not this, love and light. You just need to forgive and move forward quickly. No, I say we get rigorous and we get honest. And if your partner's still trying to redeem themselves and they're searching for some sort of light, they're searching for some sort of answers of why they are acting out, why they are looking at porn, what are they doing? This is an unconscious act. This is stuff that people are doing in a self-soothing sort of way. And I will, maybe wrongly, but I will clump everything into, that's their shot of whiskey. People are doing pain relief. They're playing games for hours, or trolling their phone for hours. People are seeking some sort of emotional relief by doing these habits. They create habits. They drink, they smoke, they jack off to porn. They do things like this. So that seems to be a way of self-soothing. And what are they soothing themselves over? When people first get together, they're very present. They're right here. They're right now. They are with each other. They can't wait to see each other. Can't wait to, hold hands. Everything is magical because you're present. You're alive together. You're awake together. And then as the relationship moves on, maybe something gets in the way and you're less intimate. You're less connected. You have secrets that you're doing something behind each other's backs that each other wouldn't approve of. There's a brick in a wall. There's all these little things that pull your connection away from each other. So withholds. It creates a space for withholds. You're not in a good space together. But this just continues for probably years, long time, and then something really big happens. So that's where I say both people have some accountability in how this connection really got off track. Because I doubt in the beginning it was a horrible connection. People don't usually stick together or stay together if they've got a really bad initial connection. It was really good in the beginning. I hear that all the time. We were so in love. We had it all. We could talk for hours. You're best friends. I love to kiss him. I love to kiss her. Now I can't stand their breath. They're super critical of each other. So how do we fix that? How do we start? Well, we got to get honest. And number one reason for an affair, by the way, is revenge. That's just statistics. So we're getting even with our spouses or a relationship by having an affair. And it usually isn't just for love. Affairs are rarely just for love. Men will have affairs for sex. Women have affairs for emotional reasons. But it's usually, again, something that you're doing at your partner. Subconsciously or consciously. You're just fed up. I'm done. I can't do this anymore. But having an affair is starting something before you're done with before you're getting done with the partnership. You're really not done with that person. If you were really done, you'd probably walk away. But you're bouncing or rebounding into something else for the relief, for the pain relief. What do you get out of an affair? Well, again, initial relationships are you're all emotional together and you feel again. You can express yourself freely again. You can be you. They can be them. And it's great sex. It's a great connection. But that's the pain relief. That's, again, a pain relief. So you're still running away from dealing with the real issues inside of your relationship. So all of these, situations, and there's a lot of situations people feel hurt by and betrayed by. And I say make a list. Make a list of everything you're still upset about, you're not okay with. They've betrayed you. They've hurt you. Give me that list. I want to hear all about it. I want to hear exactly what pieces of crap they are. So let me know they're bad. They're bad, sick, and wrong. So I have people make a list of what they did, to hurt each other. Then what I do is I say, okay, we share the list. We talk about the list with each other. We share the list. And I say to the husband, when the wife is, well, I overspent. Normally women will spend money. They'll do something financial. They'll gouge at him some way. Well, I made the kids hate him. I told the kids he was a crappy dad, whatever. They kind of gossip and they get kids against him. Other people get set against him. They tell their friends how awful he is. Maybe they screw around, maybe they flirt a little bit, but most of it's financial stuff. So I say to the husband, how did you get her to do that? And I know it sounds, like I'm blaming, but in a way, what's going on that you have neglected, that you got her to need to go get that kind of pain relief, or that she's acting that stuff out? Was she always this way? Or is this different behavior? She kind of resorted to getting at you, getting even with you. And most of the time, when I ask women that, well, how'd you get him to do this? I didn't. It's not my fault. And I'm not saying it's your fault, but what's going on inside of this relationship that you aren't conscious of? You're not conscious together. You're no longer friends. It's interesting, the love dynamic, the marriage dynamic. When you get married, you're a husband, you're a wife, maybe wife, husband. It is what it is. But you're as a couple, you're committed, and there is a high expectation of each other. And that expectation is, you're my husband, you're supposed to do things this way. You're my wife, you're supposed to do things this way. But when you breach each other's trust, then you do things behind each other's back. And you lie, builds a wall, and then you want to get at each other because you're resentful and you're angry. And you feel condemned, you feel judged, which make you even more angry. So if you look at how you get your spouse to do what they're doing, is it because you aren't connected? You don't want to connect with them. You don't want to talk when they get home. You are tired. You're like, I have to get you to look at yourself. I have to get you to see what's going on inside of you. And some people that stay after a betrayal and they don't really do the work to figure out what's going on, that was a possibility happening out of their relationship, they get bitter. They get really bitter, really angry, and they hate each other. That's not healthy for either party. That's just not healthy. Even if you have children, it's just not healthy. And I think divorce can be like child abuse. It's like, just kidding, we aren't going to be a family forever. I think it can present to children like child abuse. So I say that to couples, if you're really going to get, divorced, you got to think it through because it's an impact of the family. But if not, if there's no kids, then it's probably time to call it if there's some betrayal happening. But you see, you're on one track when you first get together, and then something happens and you start going on separate tracks. That's what I'm saying, is at what point did you start going on the separate track where you started living separately? Living away from being connected to each other. And how long has that been going on? And then, of course, what's possible when you're on your own anyway, right? If you stay, though, there is an assumption, conscious or not, that you got over it, that you're okay with it, that you've forgiven it, or that, you're going to live with it, and maybe that you're going to let it go. So some people stay and they just kind of keep living and they step over it. They just ignore it. They want to ignore it. Some women, some people know that that person's cheating or doing whatever, but they don't want to bring it up because then there's going to have to be some fights or conversations. And I don't want that. It'll end the relationship. I can handle anything. Just don't leave me, which again that can't feel healthy. But if you stay and you kind of are accepting that this is how it's going to go, and you have to look at why you're really staying. Well, a lot of people say I'm staying for the kids. I don't judge that reason. Stay for the kids. Staying for money. I don't want to lose half of my life. Okay. But you have to be now accountable for your mood, for your reactions, for your conversation. Because if people start living like a victim, and they start hating their relationship, that, again, what is that doing to you? That's bringing you into the worst possible energy of yourself. And now you get to be the victim. And I say the minute you say, he hurt me, she hurt me, they hurt me. Okay, I believe it. That happened. Now it's on you to get out of that. If you're in pain, if you're struggling, this is something you have to sort out. That's what is your fault. How you're handling it is what is on you. I don't love that people hurt each other. I don't love that people are cheating or lying or whatever. And I say when that's going on, like you're dealing with a teenage child or some sort of child situation, if every time your child threw a temper tantrum and threw a fit, you took it personal and, they betrayed me and they're not grateful for me. I do everything for that baby. Can you believe it? It sounds silly when you talk about how you respond to a child that way. But in older relationships, more mature relationships, it seems to be on my end kind of the same way. You are going to take that personal. And the minute you personalize someone else's behavior, now you're stuck. You're stuck because now it is about you. So that's why I'm saying is, well, how is it your fault that they cheated? How is it your fault that they gambled? What is your fault? How are you getting them to do that? And if you start looking at yourself as the source, you as the source of someone else's behavior or someone else's feelings, or again, now that's what you can change. All you can change is you. You cannot change that other person. Every addict that I've worked with, I watch people, and even in my own family, I've had family members that have addictions. They pick fights. They intentionally do shit to get you to react. They want you to react. They want you upset or angry or to, get in a fight with them, get mad. I'm out of here. And so what do they do when they're out of here? Well, they're going for their fix. They're going to go do what they want to do. It's a manipulation. And if you are married to an addict, if you've got someone that you're in a relationship with and this is happening, you're gaslighted, they're lying, they're doing whatever. Look, you gotta be observant. But if you allow something or someone to trigger you to be in that, fight or flight mode or constantly reacting, if you're the reactor, if you're reacting off their behavior all the time, they own you, they run you, they're in charge of you. So you're not powerful. You feel weakened by this. But most addicts, by the way, will again pick a fight so they have a reason to go use. And again, why do people use things? Why are they self-medicating? Why are they using a substance or whatever? They're in pain. They're in pain, and it's how they're dealing with something. It's how they're dealing with themselves, their emotions, their past, whatever. It's how they forget. It's how they don't have to care. They don't have to be responsible. It's how they run away from responsibility. And so if you've got someone in your life that is an addict, you're never going to win. You're never going to be first until they sort out and get over that relationship. They're in a relationship with drugs. They're in a relationship with stacks, or they're in a relationship with booze. You're not first. But why stay with that? Why you get upset with that? Of course, it's going to hurt if you're expecting something that you're never going to get. But you have to look at, what am I getting out of this? Really? What's my payoff? Why am I staying? I don't have to work on my self-esteem. I don't feel good enough for other people, so I'm going to stay here. I've got kids, financial obligations together. I can't afford to leave. This is all real stuff. It is real. But that's where your work is. And I think people that are betrayers, that hurt other people like this, look, it gets them a lot of attention. There's always this focal point on them. And some kids, you notice this with kids, bad attention is just as good attention. They'll get any kind of attention they can get. I say don't add oxygen to that fire. So if someone has betrayed you, now this is my advice. If you're in a relationship, long term, short term, whatever, if it's short term and there's no children and that person betrays you, look, there's like a new road to go down with that person. Is that what you really want to do? Is this really who you want to become? Is the person trying to figure out why they cheated or whatever? No, if you're in a new relationship and this happens, leave. Like, just, it's over. Like, don't keep subjecting yourself to that. That's obvious. But if you're in a long-term relationship, 10, 15, 20 years, and some sort of breach happens, there's value. There's a lot of value in trying to understand yourself. And I say, don't react. If you start giving that power, or you let that ruin your life, and look, I get it. It's so hard not to personalize that, because that person is your person. You love them. But if you start personalizing it, you're missing it. You're missing your growth. You're missing your value, and the value for that to happen to you. Is it a sign? Is it sometime I need to leave here? Is this over? Once you're over the reaction and the shock and the trauma of it, and I know it's dramatic, but once you get past that, do you really want to turn into a vindictive person and stay and get revenge and get even? You know, or do you really want to look at this relationship and go, is this worth staying for? And is this person remorseful? Or do they want help? Do they want to change? If not, this is maybe your time to be set free. And there's been so many relationships, I can't even count, thousands of people that I've helped, that they were betrayed, they were abandoned, something happened, and they were on their own. They were literally on their own. And after that, they found the love of their life. They didn't know what love was till they met this person. They're still together. They're so blissfully happy. It was a magical moment for them, because they didn't stop and go, I'm a victim. I'm staying a victim. Now it's ruined my life. I'm ruined. I mean, if you don't work through that, if you really, really allow that moment to ruin you, you're going to miss the value of it. It will be all in vain. Okay. So that's my suggestion, is when someone does something to breach your trust, pull back. And this isn't really all about you. There's something going on in the space that you're supposed to understand. But you have to look at, you have a choice. You have a choice. How are you going to deal with it? How are you going to handle it? I'm not the person that says you need to rush to forgiveness. I don't. Look, forgiveness is a natural, it's a byproduct of understanding. When you understand a person's motive, or understand what makes them tick or whatever, you kind of have a natural, tendency to just let it go and forgive. But until you understand it, I don't say forgive. You have to forgive what's best for you. Well, you need to understand it before that. And then understand yourself, and who is it going to turn you into? What is that betrayal going to turn you into? And I'm telling you, you've got a moment in time where you can choose that. You can let it drive you crazy, or you can decide to, be with it, learn from it, stay or go. But whatever you choose, make sure it's the best thing for you, and make sure it's something that you're doing because it's the right thing for you. And you understand your partner. It's not that you're staying out of being a martyr. So if there's a situation you're going through like this and you think I can help you, I would love to have a call with you or sit in person with you. And you can find me at healwithkimile.com. That's HEAL with KIMILE.com. Have loving relationships. Be good to yourself. Till next time. Bye.